Hello, class. Let's talk about gun violence. So, right now, I am in America. I'm in Wyoming at a friend's house. Our friends are not here, they just lent us the house, and it's funny to see that in their nightstand there is this huge rifle and these like big bullets. And yeah, being from Costa Rica, I like barely seen a gun in my life, so I'm like, "Ugh, let's just leave it there." So I usually say jokingly that I'm happy that I'm not American, but after Costa Rica, I think Wyoming is gonna be my second home. I'm gonna be spending several weeks a year here and in LA. So gun violence is something that's definitely gonna affect me, especially in LA. So the question is, what can we do individually and collectively to decrease the gun violence and deaths here in America? And this is a very complicated question, and or with a complicated answer, because the causes of gun violence, more than what we read in the different articles that we did, it has become this like interwoven, interconnected set of factors that's beyond anyone's control. Or at least that's what I think. It's complicated, and starting by the passion that Americans seem to have for their guns, especially in places like here where I am. And the moment that you mention gun control, they freak out and they start saying, "Well, come and get it. If you want my gun, come and get it. I dare you." Right? So nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to implement any laws or controls for guns, because there is a very passionate people with their guns, similar to how passionate Americans are for, I don't know, meat or high school football. And the other factor that was mentioned a lot is mental health. And yeah, mental health in America, it's in a very critical condition. Let's remember that Americans were the ones that coined the term loser. It is a highly competitive society, and you need to compete. You need people struggle to live here, and if you are not in the kitchen, you're in the oven. If you're not successful, you're losing. You're being a loser. And yeah, we read about how these different things like alienation, bullying, adverse childhood experiences, they all contributed to a person to consider going down the path of violence. And this is not just any type of violence. This is, I wrote this. It's an action of seeking revenge from no one in particular. It really surprised me to read that in Latin America, where I know is one of the most dangerous places in the world, mass shootings are virtually non-existent. If there is a killing, it's a very premeditated action. So if I kill someone, it's because I had a beef with them, or I'm looking for revenge, or I wanted to rob them or to rape them. But it's not, let's just cause the most damage and then kill myself. So what can we do in this very desperate and complicated situation? Well, the one thing that I said, that it's not possible to limit access to guns, to implement more control on guns. I mean, it worked in Australia. Why wouldn't it work here? And then there needs to be cultural and socioeconomic changes. Cultural because, as I say, Americans really have strong feelings for their guns. And socioeconomic because life is really hard here in different places of the country. And as I said before, people struggle a lot. There needs to be more empathy, more opportunities. I immediately thought about The Simpsons, how Homer Simpson, without like college education and working at a power plant, this show started I believe in the 90s, was able to maintain, to get a house, 2 cars, and feed a family of 5. That is not possible anymore. And people seem to be okay with that, with how rough has life being. It's like the feeling of it is what it is, we can change it. And finally, here's an interesting idea that I read from somewhere in the internet. It was basically someone said that, I wish I knew who it was, that instead of the media reporting on the shooter and the background and the manifesto and whether it was like, the race or where it came from or whatever, just report it as mass shooter 1, mass shooter 2, 3, 50, 150, for 2 reasons. First, so that they don't get the glory that some of them are looking for. And second, so that Americans are reminded of how many times they failed at keeping their citizens safe. All right, thank you. Have a good evening.